All right, now we're going to have a really quick video on how to derive inverse trig functions. Now, at the moment, this is inverse sine. It doesn't matter if it's inverse cos, tan, whatever. We're going to use the chain rule. Whenever you have these things, use the chain rule. In the exam, do not skip steps. Trust me. If you don't skip steps, you will not make the mistake, I promise you. Now, what we're going to have, first of all, in order to do this, it's asking us to find the implied domain and range. Now, I'm going straight from the formula sheet here, and straight from the formula sheet, it tells me that for inverse sine, it says that the domain is -1 to 1. And it says to me that the range is minus pi on 2 to pi on 2. So what we're going to do is just quickly, the things that are affecting the range is this 2 on pi, and then finally we're subtracting 3. So really, I guess if you wanted to do it in the side, you could say that the implied range goes from minus pi on 2 to pi on 2. And what we're doing is we're multiplying that by 2 on pi, and that is going to give you -1 to 1. And then the final thing is you're subtracting 3 from everything, which gives you, so therefore what we can say is that the range is an element of, what's that, -3. So -4 to -2. Okay, rearranging that, as you can see. Now, the domain, well, the thing is that a half x plus 1 is not in the form we want. What we want is we want a half x plus 2. It needs to be in this form. We've got arc sine of 2 on pi. So what does this represent? This represents a dilation by a factor of 2, and then we move everything down 2. So literally, as we could work that out in our head, we don't need, if we can work that out in our head, we can work that out to be -4, 0. Now, let's see if we can do this in a minute. I don't know about that, but we will try. Now, we've got to differentiate this. So let u equal a half x plus 1. And I'm going to let y equal f of x, so I can use Leibniz notation. So therefore, dy du is equal to du dx is equal to a half. Now dy du. Now you can see here y is equal to 2 on pi. Leave that at the front. We've got inverse sine or arc sine of u minus 3. So what does dy du equal? Well, that's going to equal 2 on pi. And straight off the formula sheet, because that is a u, what we have is 1 over the square root of 1 minus what? U squared. Now let's just throw in, we'll put in u squared, that's fine. Okay. Now what's the one for cos? Inverse cos is what? What's the difference between inverse sine and inverse cos? It's a negative. Okay. Now, therefore, I'm going to say that dy dx is equal to a half times 2 on pi times 1 over the square root of 1 minus u squared. Well, let's put u in. That's a half x plus 1 squared. Now, the 2's cancel out. We've got 1 over pi, but we're not in that form that we want. Let's go ahead and do that right now. That's going to be a quarter x squared plus a half x plus, that's going to be plus x and plus 1. Okay, so now what we've got is we've got 1 over pi. 1 minus 1, that's going to be 0. What we've got is we've got x minus 1/4 x squared. Still not in the same format though, is it? Negative, yes it is. Negative x plus a, that's right, isn't it? So what we're going to do is we're going to take a negative out the front. We're going to take negative x out the front. And what are we left with? We're left with, Or in actual fact, probably the better way to do it is let's take a quarter out the front. I know that this looks a bit confusing, but let's take a quarter out the front. What do we have here? What would be go in here? Or let's do a negative a quarter. What would go out the front then? So x. So let's do, you've got x there. X plus 4, you're saying? Okay. So now what happens is, what's the square root of a quarter? You know, the square root of a quarter though. No, it's not. It's not the answer because A, B, and C are integers. Okay. So the answer is, if I take the answer out, so what I'm going to do is a quarter is a half. But a half, 1 divided by a half is 2. So in actual fact, the 2 goes up the top there. And what I have is I have minus x plus 4. Does that make sense? Now, I could show you I can promise you that's the right answer because, first of all, number 1 is negative 1 is an integer, and also this is an integer, and that is an integer there. I can go through it, but thank you. Quite a few of us made silly mistakes there, didn't we? I'm going to stop this video. I went for 6 minutes. That's not too bad.